Welcome to Gimbal Basics for Real Estate Videography. In this video, I'm going to cover the 3 key steps to setting up your gimbal properly so that you can use it to the best of its abilities. We're going to cover how to balance a gimbal, we're going to cover gimbal settings, and we'll finish off with gimbal modes for actually shooting the property. So with all that said, let's dive straight in. This is how to balance your gimbal. Now a gimbal has 3 axes. You've got the tilt axes, you've got the roll axes, and you've got the pan axes. And the easiest way to balance your gimbal is to balance these one at a time, starting with the tilt axis. This is, your camera's up and down movement over here. Now, if I were to just unlock the motor here, you can see that this is not balanced. To tell when a camera is balanced or the axis is balanced, you should be able to unlock the motor and the camera will stay in place. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to point the camera straight up. Point the camera straight up at a 90-degree angle. And if I were to let go of this camera, it's going to fall down. So what that means is we're going to have to adjust this slider right here, this plate right here. So we're going to loosen this. Now if the camera's falling down, that means there's too much weight here. So we're going to have to push this mounting plate up. So I'm going to move this up, let go. Well, that actually looked not too bad. Tighten that up. We'll leave that for now. It's not done yet, and I'll show you why, but we'll leave it there for now. The next thing, now if we come back to the neutral resting place of the camera, we let go, it's still falling. Now we're going to adjust this sliding mounting plate. So if we let go and it falls backwards, that means there's too much weight on the back side of the camera. So we're going to unlock that and start to push the camera forward. Now, if I let go here, you can see the camera is now too front heavy. So I'm going to start sliding this back. Let go, same thing. Micro adjustments, a little bit more, right there. Close that in place, let go, should be okay. Now we're going to go back up here, double check. Now you can see once we got this plate properly balanced, this one is still a little out of whack, so we're going to loosen this up. You can see it's falling down, so we're going to push this back ever so slightly. Too much, a little bit too much, a little bit more. Lock that in place, let go, we're perfect. So now, if we leave the camera straight up, it should stay straight up. If we leave it neutral, it should stay neutral. If we leave it at 45, it should stay 45. Now to test that, we're going to lock this axis again, unlock it, and it stays in place. So there's our tilt axis. We always start with that one. Step 2, we're going to move to the roll axis. This is kind of this main big arm right here. Now if I were to unlock this and let go, the camera falls to the side. So I'm going to unlock the clamp at the back here, and I'm going to push the arm through to counteract that movement. Now if I let go, you can see it's a little bit on the other way, a little bit too far. Push that back a little bit, too much, back. That's starting to look decent. Now the way to test this, put it on a 45 on each side, and it shouldn't move. All right, same thing. We're going to lock, unlock, camera stays in place. The final step to balancing the gimbal, and a lot of people actually forget about this or they overlook this, but it's still very important, is going to be our pan axis. Now, obviously, if I were to just unlock this and leave it in place, it's going to stay in place, even though I know this is not balanced right. So to check the balance, we're going to unlock the axis. I'm going to pick up the gimbal and I'm going to hold it at a 45-degree angle like this and let go. You can see that we're a little bit front heavy, and to know that we're front heavy is because the lens is falling forwards. So to do this, we're going to unlock this clamp here and start to push this arm backwards. We'll try that, let go, still a little bit too much. Now I'm going to push it back too far just to show you what it would look like if it was too back heavy. If I were to let go, now the back of the camera is falling down, right? So I'm going to unlock that. We're going to have to push that forward a little bit. It's always about testing. We're always trying to make little micro adjustments. Let go. There we go. That's perfect. So now our gimbal, if we were to unlock all these axes all at once, The camera stays in place. I can pick it up and nothing's really going to move that much. Now we know our gimbal is perfectly balanced. All right, so now that we have our gimbal properly balanced, let's go ahead and turn it on. Now, one of the first things you may notice is that in the top right corner, there's a little camera and it's green. Now, this is your balance indicator light. If it's green, it means you've done a good job. The camera is properly balanced. If it's orange, it's gonna mean your camera is slightly unbalanced. And if it's red, well, that's a no-go. It means your camera is definitely not balanced. And you can also just click on it to see where things are. So if it was orange, you'd be able to see, what axis needs to be readjusted. Now, before we get into gimbal settings, there is actually one important step that we need to take. You'll see in the top left corner, you've got a little gimbal icon with some little squiggly lines. This is your gimbal calibration. If we click on that, you'll see it's called auto tune. Now you have two modes. You've got normal mode and super smooth mode. Now, this is typically something that goes up for debate. A lot of people, or actually, I would say some people really like to use super smooth mode. I'm going to be real honest with you right now. I personally have never used the super smooth mode. I've always kept mine on normal. Now, what this calibration is going to do is it's going to calibrate the motors of your gimbal to the weight of your setup. This is really important to do, especially if you're switching between different lenses. When you're switching between different lenses, your setup is changing weight, the balance is changing. So always, before you start shooting, hop over to the auto tune and hit start calibration. Now that's going to start calibrating the motors. I like to hold my gimbal down in place just so nothing moves. It's going to stay nice and steady on the table. It takes about, 30 some seconds. Calibrating 100%, and we're done. Perfect. So now that your gimbal is properly balanced, we've got it calibrated. Now we're going to dive into the gimbal settings. We're going to be able to find those in the bottom right corner of our touchscreen. You'll see right now mine is showing custom 5, and I'm going to talk about what that means in just a quick second. But if we click on this, we're going to have 4 options. We're going to have slow, medium, fast, and then custom. And you'll see that's under follow speed. So what do those actually mean? Now, if I were to set my follow speed to fast, let's see what happens. So it's on fast. When I pick this gimbal up and I turn, where you can see it's pretty reactive. All right, that's moving really fast. If we switch that over to medium, when I turn my wrist, not as fast, a little bit smoother, a little bit slower, I should say. Finally, we can hop over to slow, which is typically what I would recommend. You can see when I turn that wrist, the gimbal much slower, right? We go slow to fast, right? Super fast, over to slow, a lot slower. So for most people, for most beginners, even intermediate shooters, I would recommend always keeping your gimbal to slow. Now, I mentioned when we looked at mine said custom 5. So if we scroll over to the end here, custom speed, you see there's a little pen icon in the top right. You can adjust and really fine tune in the speed of how you want your gimbal to react. I have mine set to 5, which is slower than slow. So let's get that back in. Because when I pick up my gimbal and I turn, look at just how slow that gimbal, that motor is reacting. Super slow. This is kind of a personal preference thing, but that's what's been really helpful for me to get those perfect, smooth gliding curve movements that I'm able to achieve set onto number 5. So there is another setting when it comes to setting up your gimbal for the smoothest results that is often overlooked. And the reason why it's overlooked is because you can't actually adjust that setting in the gimbal itself. You need to use the DJI Ronin app. So once you've got the app, you've connected to your gimbal, you're going to go to the top right corner where you see mode. You're going to see the mode it's on, obviously PF, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. But you're going to click on that. And you're going to see this user profile. It's going to take just a quick second to load up. And now you can see your settings. So PF stands for pan follow. That's great. Follow speed is custom. You'll see the numbers they're on 5 because that's what we set on the gimbal. But you'll see right under that, we have something called deadband. Now, what is deadband? Deadband is going to be the responsiveness of your gimbal. So you saw that when I pick the gimbal up and I turn my wrist really fast, obviously the follow speed is slow, but I mean, like I can, if I'm holding my gimbal straight like this and I'm moving my wrist like this, it's shaking a little bit, the camera is still staying straight on. A high deadband means low responsiveness. It's a little confusing, a little backwards, but I'm gonna say that again. A high deadband means low responsiveness. Now, if I were to set my deadband to low, because my follow speed is so slow. Now let's turn this to slow here. Deadband low. You can see like the little adjustments really quick here on slow and a low deadband. You can see when I move my wrist, that camera is reacting. If I were to turn this deadband up to high, still on the preset slow movement, I can turn my wrist, that camera's not moving as much. Now again, I like to have mine set to 5, which again is really slow, but look, when I move that wrist, that camera is staying pretty much dead center. So for whatever mode that you're on, I would always suggest changing your deadband to high. It's going to help with eliminating any little micro jitters, micro adjustments that you might come across while you're actually shooting your shots. Now, the final setting we're going to cover is going to be our joystick settings. If you're familiar with my work, you probably notice that I like to get some really cool like tilting shots. As we're moving, the camera is tilting either up or down. Now, this is personal preference, but I like to use the joystick for those shots. Some people like the pan, tilt, follow mode, which I'm going to touch on again really soon here. But I like to use the joystick. So to set up my joystick settings for the best results, we're going to swipe up and you'll see we have joystick speed and joystick smoothness. I have my speed set to slow, but again, you have slow, medium, fast, and custom. I found that slow worked really good for me. And then you'll see we have smoothness. Again, custom, high, medium, and low. We want we want smooth shots, so we're gonna set that smoothness to high. And that's how you're going to get those really nice, smooth joystick movements, speed to slow, smoothness to high. Final thing we're gonna touch on is the gimbal modes. Most gimbals have 3 preset common modes. Now, the first mode we're going to talk about is the mode that you're probably going to be using 90 to like 95% of the time when you're filming a house. And that is the PF mode, or pan follow mode. On the RS3 Pro, it's the one in the middle. Now, what is pan follow mode? Pretty much when I pick up my gimbal and I twist my wrist, the pan axis is going to follow my movement and nothing else. When I tilt forwards or tilt backwards, the camera stays level. When I roll side to side, the camera again still stays level. So it's only following that pan axis. The second most common mode for your gimbal is going to be PTF mode, or pan tilt follow mode. Now, we're going to switch our gimbal upwards, PTF. I have my setting set to the preset slow. And what this does is now, not only will it follow my pan movements, but it will also follow my tilting movements. If I lean the gimbal forward, the camera's going to tilt up. If I lean the gimbal down, the camera's going to tilt down, right? Up, down. Now you'll see some people use this a lot for really any of those long sweeping tilting shots. They'll use the pan tilt follow mode. I touched on this briefly when I was talking about the joystick settings. Personally, I like to keep my gimbal on pan follow mode and then use the joystick for tilt. Honestly, personal preference, no way is better than the other. This is the most common though, and typically a lot of people actually find it easier. Now, the third and final most common gimbal mode is going to be FPV mode. That we're going to switch our mode switch to FPV. And now this essentially unlocks all the axes. If I pick this up, we've got our pan follow, we've got our tilt follow, and we've also got our roll follow. So when I twist the gimbal, you can see that camera is rotating, it's twisting, it's rolling. So that is FPV, and you'll see a lot of kind of the big or top creators in the space will use those really cool like FPV shots where they're twisting and doing all this like crazy rolling movements. That is how they achieve that with FPV mode. Now, final thought I want to leave with you is that if your footage is still shaky, but you're like, James, I have the best gimbal, I copied all your settings, my footage is still shaky, I'm going to tell you something. It's not your gimbal, it's you. It's not your gimbal, it's your Ninja Walk. The Ninja Walk is everything when it comes to real estate videography. And I'm not going to cover it in this video because I have some other videos where I've covered it. You can find that up here or up here, wherever it lands. But the Ninja Walk is going to be the key to capturing those smooth footage. Yes, having the right gimbal will help. Yes, having the right settings will help. But it really comes down to the pairing of the Ninja Walk and the way you set up your gimbal. So with that all being said, if you got value out of this video, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.